then you're welcome to share this out on Facebook if you'd like, or retweet the Twitter. I think it goes there too. Let's see. Okay, so we are now live, and actually,
Are we live on your Todd.LIVE page?
We will be in a moment.
Oh, okay.
I've got to fix something here. I didn't number this correctly. We're actually on number 6. But we are on Periscope and YouTube as we speak.
Oh, cool.
And Facebook's going live right now. It'll take a minute.
Are you using Wirecast?
I am using Wirecast.
Nice.
I'm a Wirecast. I love it. I mean, I think it's awesome. Let me make sure that we're on Todd.LIVE. And we are live on Todd.LIVE. So you're welcome to share that out if you'd like.
Yeah, definitely. Let me just refresh here and see if I get it.
And now we're going to be live on Instagram as well.
There we go.
All right, we are live everywhere. We have 2 people with us on Periscope so far. I see one. It might be one of us that's actually showing up on Facebook. And let's see here. I'm going to do one more thing before we totally take on this show. Okay, so folks, we are live. This is episode 6 of Live Video Live. This is a show where you do not know who the guest is going to be beforehand, and we talk about live streaming, life as live as a live streamer, life as an entrepreneur, and anything else that comes up. Really, there's no direction, no formalities, just fun. 8 o'clock Monday through Thursday Pacific, and we are live today with my friend. Let me bring him up here, Brad Friedman. Brad, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm so pleased to have you on, and the picture on your end is just outstanding. What are you using for a camera tonight?
The Logitech 920.
Is that a webcam?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. The picture you're getting is just absolutely outstanding, and I think your lighting helps a bunch too, because you've got good lighting in that room.
Yeah, I put a bunch of LED bulbs in the ceiling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Folks, Brad is like me as far as we are both recovering attorneys. And I think he's as ecstatic as I am at not having to practice law on a daily basis anymore.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your legal career.
Well, let's see. I practiced law for about 16 years. Mainly did family law, which when I tell people that, they say, oh, well, now I understand why you're not doing it anymore. Very stressful kind of practice. I worked at some law firms. I worked on my own. And then I just got burned out from it. A lot of pressure.
Well, that, you know what? I didn't, and I see that I misspelled Shenanigans on the slide with you. Too bad there's not spell check in Photoshop. Yeah, you know, I did a brief stint in divorce work. I didn't like it. Fortunately, it was very brief. But, you know, there were things that I enjoyed about practicing law, but most of it, no. I mean, it was a lot of running around Southern California. I was in court all over the place. You know, I was doing it at a point in time where the economy was really starting to tank and no one was happy and no one had money and no one budges anyway. But, you know, It was just like altogether, it just was just an awful mix. And it was like just eating a big, giant, nasty sandwich every day that I really didn't want to eat. And I'm glad I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah, I am too. I don't, people sometimes ask me if I miss it, and I don't. I still have my license. It's inactive, but, you know, and I still have one client that has me doing their corporate minutes every year that I keep telling them I'm just doing it as their friend. And then I make them take me out to lunch. But other than that, I'm having a lot more fun doing what I'm doing now.
So tell us what you're doing now.
So, well, after I stopped practicing law, I ran a charity, a foundation for about 8 years. And then I decided that it was time to really do something that I loved. And I'd always liked technology. I was very involved in social media, mainly because I had kids. And my deal with my kids was you can be on whatever social network you want to be on as long as I'm your first friend and you keep in mind that there's a chance that I might see whatever it is that you post. So early on, I got to learn about all the social media networks. Um, and so when I started the Freidman group, the idea was to still utilize the background I had in the law and work with lawyers and CPAs and financial services providers, insurance people, people that want to have a more professional presence online, and people that have challenges using the internet because of regulations, whether it's the SEC or FINRA or the Code of Professional Responsibility or HIPAA. Sort of my hook was, as an attorney, I can read the regulations and I can help keep you out of trouble while you're taking advantage of the internet.
Awesome. And you stay busy with this is it a daily basis, or you said beforehand you could be more busy?
Yeah, I could be more busy. I am busy. I've got several clients now that, very diverse group of clientele right now that I'm doing some digital marketing strategies for, some email marketing, social media marketing, inbound marketing, kind of runs the gamut on the digital marketing spectrum.
So how exactly did you get into that?
That's a great question. I basically just built a website and started marketing. I mean, I was very lucky that, I had been in the business for so long that at least in Denver, where I'm located, during that first year, I could get in and meet with marketing directors at law firms, at CPA firms, and it just started from scratch and just pounding the pavement.
So what got you into live streaming, though? I mean, you do a lot of live streaming and you like to have guests come on. I've been a guest on your show and I had a great time. You had Ross Brand on recently. I think you've had Peter Nez on.
Right.
So your dance card is filling up with great names. What got you into the live video exactly?
Well, I think everything is all about live video right now, whether it's on Facebook or Periscope or Instagram or YouTube. It's very important piece of everybody's marketing. And, I really try to kind of walk the talk. And so I am where I'm recommending that my clients are. And right now that's live.
Well, it's a good thing. So, and I love live video. I'm with you completely on the live video. But how often do you go live, and do you have ambitions to do more than you're already doing?
Oh, I definitely have ambitions to do more than I'm already doing. I'm really trying to, have a guest and go live at least one time every week. And I really need to step it up, in all honesty. I need to step it up.
Well, I'm with you. And, I just fixed the misspelling. That was driving me nuts. I had to fix that. So if you saw me, or if the guest saw me looking at the side, I was an English major, and of course I was an attorney. So words are my craft. And, when I'm whipping up the Photoshop, the elements for the Photoshop, it doesn't tell me if I've mistyped something, and it was driving me nuts. I think I got it fixed. The word shenanigans is one of those funny words where it never seems to look right.
Right.
And I had an I in there instead of an A, and I think it's fixed now. But no, I'm with you. I traveled a lot during this summer, and Jen Nelson got me into the 31 Days Live challenge. I don't know if you participated in that or not.
I did not.
And to whoever's giving out love on Periscope, thank you. But she got me into that, and she didn't have to persuade me much. I mean, I knew I needed to do this when I saw it because I hadn't been going live, and I needed a good kick in the butt and a reason to do it. And I missed 5 or 6 days during the month of July. But I was traveling a lot, but I decided that when I came home, I'm going to live stream a lot. And I had some program ideas. Live Video Live is something I came up with over a year ago. And I did some live video lives, but I never really got anywhere with it. And I didn't have any direction. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to have a prime time, no announcement who the guest is going to be, but have a new guest every night. So people kind of have to show up and have some fun, and just take it where it goes. And then I had a few other things. I'm doing the From Scratch thing, which is more educational. And then of course the Create and Engage podcast, which I've been doing anyway, which I do live as well. But I just decided, you know what, I'm going to strive for 8 or 10 live videos a week. And that's crazy, I think. But
yeah, it's busy.
It's busy, but it's gotten me moving and I've enjoyed it. I mean, this is my 2nd week. You're my 6th guest on this particular program. I'm pretty much booked this week and partial next week, and people want to be on and have some fun. And, sometimes they've run long and, hopefully they don't all run very long. I've had some that push 2 hours already, which is just nutty starting at 8 o'clock. But, it's just a matter of doing it and honing my skills and even doing things like editing the word shenanigans while we're live and trying to do it in a fashion that's somewhat inconspicuous. I haven't nailed that part down. I can do it, but I can't fool anybody that I'm obviously busy doing something. But, I think when the time is right for you, you'll probably just, you'll do your thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm counting on. I mean, and I've loved those From Scratch videos that you've been doing. The ones on TubeBuddy this week have been awesome. It's a tool that I've used the free version of and not to the full extent. And, I loved seeing those. They were great.
Yeah, there's TubeBuddy's really good if you're wanting to do YouTube. I originally was going to make YouTube the focus this week, but I decided to make it TubeBuddy because I do have a code for it and I am pretty passionate about using it. I feel like doing YouTube, and I think TubeBuddy has some competitors out there, and I haven't checked them out. Everyone I know uses TubeBuddy, Roberto Blake and Owen Video, and that right there is enough for me, but there's others I could name. But if you're doing YouTube without a tool like TubeBuddy that gives you some, look behind the curtain, you're really just throwing darts at a dartboard blindfolded at succeeding on YouTube. And I think YouTube's going to just continue to be a major player, maybe even more so. I know some people are calling for its death now that Facebook's going to have this watch thing come out, but yeah. I don't think that's going to be the end of YouTube. Not even close.
No way.
There's no way.
No way. I mean, the YouTube search engine is still the 2nd most popular search engine in the world, and they're not going anywhere.
No, and everybody uses it, and even children use it. My daughter is on YouTube constantly. She's 13 and kids love it. And anybody who's going to do a maintenance project at home, they run to YouTube to find the answer, and it's there, somebody's done a video.
Yep. I patched a wall in my bathroom where a towel rack pulled out of the wall and left a big hole. And the first thing I did was go to YouTube and then to Home Depot and then back to my YouTube video to patch that wall. Every time I have a problem, something to fix, or I need to, even like when I bought my mixer, I went to YouTube to figure out how to hook it up. And I mean, there's something for everything on YouTube.
Yeah, it is. And YouTube or Facebook's got a long way to catch up if they expect to put YouTube away. And of course, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Facebook. But YouTube is too much of an institution, I think, at this point. I'd almost argue that it's more important than Google itself, just because everybody wants a video of whatever it is they're looking up, patching a wall, fixing a toilet,
Yep.
How to carve a car for the Pinewood Derby. I mean, anything that you can think up is going to be on there.
No question. No question. It's not going anywhere.
So what have you learned the most from being a live streamer?
Well, that's a great question. I tell people that I think that my experience of being in the courtroom and having to think on my feet has helped me a lot as a live streamer, because one of the beauties of going live is that you never know what's going to happen, whether it's a tech problem, or it's a problem with the guest's tech, or the electricity goes out, or whatever. There's an internet related problem, and I think that it's sort of honed my ability to think on my feet as much as anything.
I would completely agree with you. I mean, everything you do when you're live, I mean, all sorts of things are going to go wrong. I've fixed two things since we've been on the video tonight, and we've only been going maybe 10 minutes or something, maybe 20. But whether you're fixing something, if you're in the courtroom, you find out a fact, or somebody puts out an argument, or the judge asks you a question. I'll tell you what always happened to me in the courtroom. And I never tried any cases. I mean, I never saw trial in anything. Anytime I was in the courtroom, we had clients that would take it the limit, and then would always dispose of the case, at a certain point. And of course the plaintiff's attorneys all knew that. We were always defending private entities, and deep pockets. And it was just a constant battle with the same attorneys that just made it their business to come at these entities. But, so I never had the luxury of actually going to trial. I mean, every once in a while we'd have something go to trial, but I wasn't the guy that would do it. But I always got asked by the judge to answer questions on behalf of the plaintiff's counsel, because he didn't know answers to the questions from the judge himself. And when the judge would get frustrated, he'd turn to me and say, Mr. Bergen, can you tell me what's going on here? And I'll tell you what, of all the time that I practiced law, I mean, I had a lot of fun doing certain aspects of it, but that was the most fun thing. I always liked looking across the courtroom after I answered a question on behalf of the opposition, because they couldn't give an answer themselves, factual or procedural. It didn't really matter what the question was. And that happened more times than not. I was really kind of surprised. I can't imagine being an attorney and representing people and showing up and not knowing what the hell is going on in the case.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, and there was always a surprise. I mean, it never failed that something would happen, whether it was with a juror or with the judge, or it could even be your own witness. Sure. Who, all of a sudden, they come up with a different version or something they didn't tell you before. You had to be quick on your feet.
I bet in your line of work in divorce, that's like almost every case.
Absolutely.
Nobody's happy. Everyone's lying. Everyone's pointing fingers, and they're squabbling over what's left. And it quickly is going into the attorney's pocket more so than each other's pocket. At least in the firm that I was working in, that seemed to be the case. Boy, he took a lot of the money.
Yeah, sad but true.
Yeah. So as far as the live streaming, you've got a brilliant setup going. You've got a great background. You've got good lighting. You've got it staged nicely. You've got good sound. You've got the Heil I see there with the pop filter and the shock mount and everything. And you've got the square. The flag, the mic flag. I mean, so you've got a lot of the gear. Do you have it where you want it now?
Pretty much. I mean, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at your background. We're very similar. We've got the same mic. As you know, because you've been so generous with helping me, I'm trying to work out the audio recording piece with that Roland R05. And I haven't quite, I'm hoping tonight that maybe it's actually, I've got it hooked up right. So we'll see. I thought I had it when I had Professor Nez on, and I only got my end of the conversation.
So you're recording us right now?
I'm trying it. Yeah.
Well, don't say anything for the moment. And do you see bars moving while I'm talking? Are the bars on the screen of the Roland moving about as I speak? If those are moving about, then you've got sound coming through. If they're not moving, you don't have my sound coming through when you're not talking.
Yes, they are moving.
So that means you're capturing my audio.
Sweet.
Unless I'm mistaken, but I don't think those bars will move when you're not speaking. For instance, you had that problem with Professor Nez where you captured your own audio, but not his.
Right.
So the bars are going to bounce if you're catching your own audio when you're speaking. But if you're not speaking and the bars are bouncing and I'm the one doing the talking, I think it's a safe bet you got it plugged in right.
Cool. I hope so. It was only about 2 or 3 hours of YouTube videos to get it hooked up.
Well, and I could have gotten you going on it too. Where I probably wouldn't have been. I could have gotten you the chords. I mean, because there's only really one chord that goes into this thing. I actually, when I'm using it, I'm not using it right now, but when I use it, there's 3 chords going in. I actually like to plug my headset into it when I'm using it because it allows me to monitor the sound that the Roland is hearing, which might be different than, it could be slightly different than the sound that's coming directly out of the mixer. And that wouldn't, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Well, I think it would be a rare instance, and I think it would be because something's not hooked up properly. But if I'm wanting to record a piece of content, when I use my Roland, I'm really just using it for a podcast episode. And I might have it going during the live video, but if I'm not actually recording it for a podcast, I don't even have that thing turned on. But I want to be able to hear what the Roland hears, so that if there is a little buzz or a crackle or something's low, then I know it, because it may tell me different information than the mixer. So that's just something for you to think about as you play with it and develop your routine. Right now, I'm plugged in with this Apple headset directly into the mixer, and I have a little jack that changes the little what is it, a 1/4 jack into a 3/4 jack, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm using.
Yeah. And then I have like a 8-foot or 10-foot extension cord so that I can sit far away from my mixer and still use this comfortably without having to this thing stretch from my head, sideways. But little tips that I'm throwing out there on the Roland. It's a great piece. And are you recording for a podcast?
Well, I'm hoping to. I'm trying to get enough up so that I can actually get started. So, I want to get 5 or 6 or maybe a few more, in the can before I get going. But yeah, I'm hoping to do that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. My Create and Engage, I think I'm up to 9 or 10 episodes that haven't been put on iTunes yet. And I might do a couple more, but I've got a show called Podcast Moving in Anaheim coming up. And I kind of want to have them on there by then so that when people ask me, well, what's your podcast? It's actually up.
Yeah.
I have a podcast I did and ended in February and that's up, but I want to point to something current that's actually happening today, not just something old.
So what are the tools you're using for the podcast?
Okay. So, I have my equipment set up. I have the Roland, which you know about. I have an iPad that feeds into my mixer that has a jukebox app on it, and I pay for music on a service called Premium Beats. And to get a nice jingle, and they have great music on Premium Beats, and each song's about $53 or something. It's a Canadian company, so it's $49.99 for the track, and then there's a few dollars for the currency fee or whatever.
Sure.
That way I've always got the lawyer in me, so I don't want to worry about the music. I want to be able to say, hey, I paid for it and I use it. So I get that little jingle and I have it and I tailor it so it tapers off after 20 seconds or something. And so I can kind of speak over it and introduce who's coming in. And then I have it also at the end where it kind of, the volume starts a little low and goes back up. And that way I don't have to do any, post, production. I try to limit that as much as possible. It's not fun to go in and edit audio content.
Right.
So if I can do it all live while I'm recording, then I don't have to go do it later. As far as software, I edit in Adobe, Audition, I think it's called. And then I use a service called Libsyn to host it. And from there it then you have to put a blog post on your blog. And then once you've told iTunes, Stitcher, Google Plus or Play or whatever it's called, where to find it, then it just automatically goes to those platforms. And it's complicated to set up, but once you get it done, the editing is really the worst part of the whole job.
Right. So it goes to those platforms from your blog?
Yeah. 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 So what happens is Libsyn hosts it. So, the weight of the file is on Libsyn, and you pay $40 a month for a 40 gig plan or something. And with a 40 gig plan, you're going to get anywhere from 8 to 10, 1 to an hour, 15-minute shows. And in a month, that's like 2 shows a week. So that's plenty of space. They have some smaller plans if you need it. I have always gone with the 40 gig because I always try to go twice a week, if I can. A lot of the times I'm at the mercy of the guests. If I can't schedule enough people, or their schedule changes, or my schedule changes, sometimes we have to play with it. My lights are blinking. I don't know what's going on. But I think when the air conditioning goes on or something, the lights just have to give me a little. But yeah, so Libsyn hosts it, and then you have a plugin in WordPress. I don't know about all the other blog platforms, but with WordPress, there's a plugin called Blueberry, and you load that. It's just a plugin, and you install it. And then what you do is you take, Libsyn will give you a link, and you put that link in Blueberry, and then you hit the search button on Blueberry, the enter button, whatever it is. And then Blueberry finds that and sees that there's a file there. And so Blueberry is telling whatever's feeding off my RSS feed on my blog, if I post like content without podcast, iTunes will pick up on that, but it'll see that there's no podcast there and it moves on. But when Blueberry tells it there's a podcast there, it routes it from Libsyn into iTunes. And then into Google, same thing. They have their crawlers that find the content off your website once they've been told that you're going to be putting podcast content on there. So, I mean, it takes you a couple hours to set all this up. It's tedious. And quite honestly, I paid for coaching, and I have these paid videos that I bought that jump me through the hoops. So I know how to set everything up, because even if I did it one time, I mean, there's so many little buttons to check and things to do that if you're not meticulous about it, you end up having a big cluster to deal with. And nobody wants that. But, if you want a referral, Cliff Ravenscraft, I think, has a video that you can pay for and tells you how to do this whole thing from beginning to end. And that is well worth its weight in gold. It's probably like $100 or something like that. Okay. But it will take 5 or 6 days of trying to do it and getting it wrong over and over again, and maybe not even getting it right, to you pay $100 and it's done, and you get it done right the first time and you move on with your life. Beautiful. So it's well worth it. That's what I did. I got that video, and I actually did his course. So I got to know him too, and all that, but that video was a part of it.
Yeah. I've listened to some how to create the podcast webinars from like John Lee Dumas.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah. And he's got a whole deal. I think it's called Podcaster's Paradise, that, it does all it teaches you how to do all of that. I haven't done that yet, but I've sat through some of his discussion about how to set it up. I'm hoping in the next couple of months that I get my act together and get going on that.
Yeah. Podcaster's Paradise, people love it. I saw a review on YouTube where some dude, I don't know if he got John's permission or not, but some dude walked you through what you get when you get past the paywall. He didn't really reveal a lot. He just kind of showed how it's set up, and, this is what you're getting. It was kind of a review, and the guy said, oh, it's a great service and all that. But, it's an expensive thing, but I bet it's well worth it, because you've got a lot of community support there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how I'm going to go, but I know I'm going to do it. I'll figure it out.
Let's see here. I've got a bunch of comments that came in. Pete Okus is a friend of mine. He said the microphone sounds crisp on my end. That's kind of cool. Michelle is with us. Ross Brand is with us. How you doing, Ross? I have a friend, Kaylin Harvest, showed up. Ross is talking about Blueberry PowerPress plugin sends it to different directories. You set up a different RSS feed for your podcast from your blog RSS feed. So yeah, I mean, it's a tongue twister almost. That's why, like I said, if you're going to get serious about it, John or Cliff or any of those guys that are doing it, I just remember there's no way I was going to figure this out on my own. There's too much going on. I mean, you have to use something called I think it's called FeedBurner.
Ah,
And so FeedBurner's involved and Libsyn's involved. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff involved. And then you've got to create your, there's an art to creating your, all the information that somebody reads when they go to iTunes, the paragraph and, and how you use keywords and, getting past iTunes approval department. And what I did was, when it came to that, was I actually looked at a few people who were very successful podcasters and looked at how they outlined their podcast and how they wrote it up in the description. And I think I chose Pat Flynn's, and I mirrored mine to be, very wordy and crafty like his. And I think he uses a lot more keywords than they say you can get away with. And I got away with it. But I kind of emulated, obviously mine said things totally different than his, but I kind of took his style and his approach and just kind of duplicated it with my own information. And I got past the iTunes critics.
oh, nice.
So you might try doing that too.
Yeah, that's great advice.
But, yeah, man, you got to get your podcast going. Hey, do you have any travel plans coming up? It seems like everybody's going to a show these days, but you're in Denver. So that's where, half the stuff happens in Denver. So you don't even have to go anywhere, do you?
Yeah, lots of good stuff happens in Denver. No, in September, I am going to Scottsdale, Arizona, but just for a day for a mastermind lunch. I am hoping before the end of the year to have a book published, and then have a second one that may be coming early next year. And the publisher of the second book is having a little mastermind in Scottsdale. So I really wanted to go to that, and it's just over lunch. It's like 11 to 5 one day, and I'm going to just fly in, fly out, but I want to meet the publisher and see what I can learn.
Nice. Now, you did Social Media Day Denver, didn't you?
I did. I was there all day. Jeez, it was awesome, man. We had some talent. They did a great job. Aaron Sell and Joel Com and Brian Kramer was there, and it was great. It was really a special day.
Now, that's a different event than the Social Media Shenanigans that Joel hosts, isn't it?
Yeah, so what they did was they combined the two, and we had Social Media Day Denver that went from like 8 to 5, and then they redid the room, and we had Social Media Shenanigans after that. So it was a 2-for-1 deal.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be at Social Media Shenanigans 2016. I actually bought a ticket. And then I didn't ask for a refund. I didn't know Joel, and I still don't know him well enough. I've met him on a couple of occasions, and I've talked to him, and I actually have spent time hanging out with Aaron Sell. I met them both at Summit Live in Los Angeles. And I just didn't know him, and I didn't want to be that guy that's like, hey man, I can't make it now. Can you go in and process a refund? Right. And it was like $50, and I just let it go. But what happened was, I think my boy, gosh, what time of year was it last year? It had something to do with sports. My boy got to a championship game or something. And
yeah, it might've been in the fall.
I think it was in the fall. I think it was football, and he had like the Super Bowl happen for his age group, and his team was in it. And I just couldn't leave. And so I bowed out, but I've heard the Shenanigans is a lot of fun.
Oh, it's really fun. And he gets, top-notch people. I think last year, the one you missed was Pat Flynn.
Yep, it was Pat Flynn.
Yeah. And then the year before that, he had Ted Rubin and Chris Brogan. And they're really fun, and serious talent comes in for it.
So do you try to attend just about everything that's going on in Denver?
Well, no, it's impossible.
Is it really that busy with the social media
there's
stuff?
a lot of stuff going on here, whether it's a meetup or I'm in this YouTube professional group, and, there's all kinds of things. It's a pretty active community. There's women's groups and all kinds of things going on. And so, no, I don't go to I don't go to everything. I try to go to as much as I can.
Well, I do see what you do on Facebook and stuff, and it seems like you hit a lot of the stuff. You know, I was going to mention a comment. Ross didn't realize that you were an attorney. So I know that you and him have been talking for some time. I don't know how that ever came up, but you know, maybe it's just that attorneys can sniff each other out a little easier, and
Yeah.
you know, other people, maybe it's not quite as obvious.
Well, when I do public speaking, I have them introduce me as a recovering attorney. It always gets a good laugh.
It does always get a good laugh. I've been saying that about myself for years, and
Yeah.
it's about the only laugh I get when I introduce my. I'm kidding. But yeah, it's a great way to break the ice. People really dig hearing about you not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, people dream about doing it all their life growing up, and then, you know, they spend the rest of their life after the midway point kind of like happy that they didn't do it and appreciative of those who got out of it.
Well, it was really, it was a hard thing for me. My grandfather was an attorney. My father is an attorney. So yeah, it was not an easy decision or an easy transition for me, because I really loved it while I was doing it, at least in the beginning. As time went on and it got more adversarial and more expensive, you know, then I didn't like it so much. And fighting with that billable hour, I just, I hated that. I had a real problem with the billable hour. Even now, when people ask me if I'll bill them hourly, you know, I jack up my rate like 3 times to try to convince them not to. I'm not a fan of that billable hour.
And you still get takers though, don't you?
Occasionally, yeah, because they want to, you know, they want to do all the calculations and see what they're getting for each hour. And
but I mean, even at 3 times the rate, my point is that you still have people that they're just like, oh, I want Brad Friedman on the case. I know you, I trust you, whatever. And there's probably people willing to do that.
Yeah, there have been a few, but not a lot. I'm pretty persuasive that it's going to cost them much more that way than letting me just bid the project.
So when you bowed out, were you in a family practice? Was this something that your granddad and your dad did, and it was just kind of carried on, and you were like, well, okay, I'm going to be the end of the rope here?
No. When I worked with my dad for the first 2 years out of law school, and the politics of that, and, you know, was just too much. I was young. I wanted to learn how to be a lawyer. So I went and worked for, you know, a couple law firms after that. I was on my own. And in the very end, I had a partner. We had a little firm. There were 3 of us, 3 lawyers and about 10 total people. And it was just family law. But yeah, it wasn't a family practice at that point.
Yeah, I could see if it was a family practice, it being even harder, but I guess the expectations were just there that you did the thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so you don't, did any of your children become attorneys?
No. My son is a banker, and my daughter she works for Adobe, and she started out doing social media management like me. So, but with much bigger names. She worked on a much bigger scale than I've been able to.
Does she know Roberto Blake?
I don't know. Very possible.
I mean, I know it's a big company, but Roberto's quite a personality, and he may even still be in with them in certain ways. But I know that he's worked with them a lot through the years. Sure.
Yeah. I know he has too. Yeah. And they are a big company. I mean, over 10,000 employees all over the world. And she's had us a great job. She gets to travel, everywhere. She was in Australia last year, and Singapore and London, and all over. She's got a great job. She's doing great. I'm very proud of her. And I'm very proud of my son, who's doing some great work at the bank now. He's leading up a project where the bank is working with Habitat for Humanity. And it's a very cool thing that they're doing, and he's the lead in that project. So I've been very lucky that I tell my kids that they turned out good in spite of me.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, are they both in Denver?
No, my daughter is in San Francisco, and my son is in Denver. Yeah.
Well, nice. You know
Yeah.
what? That's a great reason to go to San Francisco. I love the Bay Area.
Love the Bay Area. Yeah. Yeah. She's talked about, coming home at some point, and I've always said, well, we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll move out there someday when I can retire, but I love visiting her in San Francisco.
Are you a Giants or an A's fan?
Um, no,
No.
I'm a Rockies fan when it comes to baseball.
Well, I figured that, but the Giants are in a dumpster fire this year, but they're a great team to beat.
They are a great team.
Yeah, my boy and I are big Giants fans.
Yeah, I've been to some games when I've been visiting, and it's very fun. I love baseball, but when it comes down to it, I'm liking the Rockies.
Well, yeah, I mean that's your home team, and they're a good team. I have the Angels. That's my home team, and I don't like the Angels at all. So I mean they're a terrible team. They're terribly managed. It's always just a train wreck. The baseball experience at Angel Stadium sucks. I can't stand the Dodgers, but I'd much rather go to the Dodgers than I would go to the Angels, and that's saying a lot. And kind of might just cast a light on how strongly I don't really care for the Angels. But, we do try to go to an Angels game every year just to do it. I mean, it is the hometown team, but
yeah,
they're just run terribly, and it's a miserable experience all around. I don't see how they have any fan base left after all this. It's been years since they've done anything positive.
Yeah, well, it's been tough to be a Rockies fan for a number of years. This year, I think they're in contention,
Yep.
But I guess I'm cautiously optimistic based on the history.
Yeah.
At least they're still in it, and it's August. I mean, last year I think it was May and it was over. So I'm happy to see them doing well this year.
Yeah,
and it's Broncos season. Geez, I couldn't believe it last week when there was a Bronco game on Thursday night.
Can you believe it? Well, tonight we just had our first night that really feels like fall is setting in. I sat outside and smoked a cigar, and I had to put a hoodie on. And this was at 5:00, which is not customary for this time of the year.
Yeah, it's getting to be fall-ish here too. It's chilly in the morning when I get up to walk the dog, and at night too. You have to put at least another layer of some sort on. It seems like the summer just flew by this summer.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah. Geez, it's going to be Labor Day in a couple weeks.
You know what? I'm going to be in the Bay Area for Labor Day.
Are you?
Oh yeah, we've got my daughter plays club soccer, and we've entered a tournament. And the fields, I've never been to the fields, but they're somewhere within 1 or 2 miles of the Golden Gate Bridge over on the west side of the peninsula. It looks like by the beach somewhere. So nice. My travels in the Bay Area are pretty extensive, but I, for whatever reason, haven't been west of whatever the road is when you're coming up from the south. I don't even remember what the road is, but there's a freeway that basically turns into a big, long thoroughfare that basically puts you on the Golden Gate once you've made it up there. And I haven't been west of that. I've just been east of it. So I'm kind of excited to go over on that side of the peninsula and check it out. There are some attractions over there along the coast when you're getting up towards the Golden Gate, and it looks like our soccer fields are right in that area. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. That'll be great.
Yeah, San Francisco is just the greatest town. There's so much to do. It never gets old. The politics, I think, kind of suck, but I grew up in the South, so there's just no way I'm going to jive with the politics. But despite the politics, I could live there easily. I just think it's the coolest place.
Yeah, I love visiting there. When we do the touristy things, it's cool. The food is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Have you been to a place called Tony's Pizza Napolitano?
Whew.
No,
doesn't sound familiar. I don't think so.
I'll put it in a private message and get it. Anyway, my brother knew of this place when he went up there. He met him and my nephew met us for a Giants game last October, or 2 years ago, October. And he saw this place on one of the food shows, and the guy that runs it entered a pizza margarita into a contest in Italy for the world's best pizza margarita, like in 1973 or something. And he won it. And it was the first time a non-Italian pizza place ever won the best pizza margarita on the planet. So they only make 73 or 70, whatever year it was, 73, 75, 77. They only make that many pizzas per day. So at noon when they open, there's already a line down the street with people dying to get in to have this one signature pizza. And we got in the line and we waited for them to open, and it was phenomenal. And we got some other things on the menu too, and it was outstanding. And it's right there in the heart of San Francisco. I'll send you the info, and you can check it out if you like pizza. It's a cool place.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know. I'll see if my daughter's probably been there.
Yeah, and it seemed to me the locals knew the trick because of the big long line. I guess the line doesn't put you in the bar seating. It's for an actual table. So when the door opens, if you want to run in and sit at the bar, I think that there's no one that stops you from doing that. So it seemed to me there were a bunch of locals that knew that little secret and kind of, just bum rushed the bar as soon as the door opened. And we're all like, what the hell's going on? And, that's open seating right there. So
yeah, very fun.
A local tip. Well, Brad, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Why don't you tell the people where they can find you, and feel free if you've got some guests coming up that you know about, let us know who it is and when you're going to be broadcasting.
Sure. Yeah. I wish I had a guest. I have a few invites out, but I don't have anything firm, so I can't help you there. The Freidman group on Facebook, freidmansocialmedia.com is the website. Brad Friedman on Twitter, Brad Friedman on Instagram. It's pretty much me, everywhere I can be, as much as I can be. And I'd love for people to find me, like the page, and I hope people are sharing out this video tonight so that we can get some more people to watch Todd do what he does so expertly. I love watching you, Todd.
Well, thanks. That's a heck of a compliment because you do it so well yourself. And, we're all learning. The technology changes so fast and the bar gets raised constantly. We're either raising it on ourselves or we see somebody else doing their thing. Yeah. And I think you're like me, because I've worked with you on a couple, little hoops you were jumping through, and it's fun. It's fun. It's how can you do it and make yourself different and raise the bar and have fun and still do something professional, and I get a real kick out of it, and I think you're one of the people that do as well. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. So what do you have coming up the rest of the week? What do I have to look forward to?
Well, I haven't even put any advertising out for it yet because it was kind of late when I got the absolute confirmation on it. But I am delighted to say that tomorrow, normally my Create and Engage live video and podcast is on Tuesday, but Owen Video, I talked to Owen this week, and he's coming on tomorrow. If all goes well, we're going to be on at 10:15 tomorrow morning. On all 4 channels that I broadcast to: Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram Live.
Nice.
I'll be recording it for a podcast. I just started getting to know. I've actually known about Owen for some time, but he and I have had a little bit of interaction this week with a couple pieces of content, and I think we're somewhat like-minded. We live in the same part of the country. He's about half hour away down in Oceanside. And he's crushing it in video. And when I was going to do my TubeBuddy this week, the first people that came to mind were Owen and Roberto, because they both push TubeBuddy a lot, and talk about it. They're both YouTube sensations.
Right.
So I've got him, and then, I still have to work on tomorrow night's guest for Live Video Live. That kind of fell through mainly because I'm working with a guy who's in Glasgow. So, the timing is way off. He's 13-hour difference or something crazy.
Right.
So we're going to try to work on another time. So I've got tomorrow open, and then Thursday. I don't know if you'll know my Thursday guest. I can't. I'll give a hint. I can't say her name because the hook on my show is, and I don't know if this is going to be successful in the long run or not. Normally, for a show to be successful, you've got to tell people in advance who's going to be there so they make it a point to tune in. I kind of like the idea that this one's a little less scripted, a little less formal,
Yeah.
and no one was really doing an 8 o'clock time, for live video. And I thought this is going to be just a talking, chit chatting, shooting the shit kind of a thing. And, just have fun and see where it goes. But I've got some really good names coming up, next week too. So,
Great.
as long as I can get guests on the program, I think it has a possibility. It might take a couple of months for it to really start to snowball, but I just like doing something less formal sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's a great format. And to be honest with you, I love the fact that you don't publicize it a lot in advance, because it does make me, want to tune in. And I may tune in for the first 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and it might not be my cup of tea, but that hasn't been the case yet.
Oh,
I think your guests have been great. I love the concept. And,
Well, thank you.
people need to be on top of it. Even if you publicize it and people get a reminder or whatever, they still have to want to be there and make the time. So,
sure.
I think it all comes out the same in the end.
Well, yeah, I do too. And I'm hoping that, it's so late that there's going to be people back east that are just laying in bed. It's like playing with their phone. Maybe when this watch thing comes out, I've been checking for the app and I haven't seen it yet on my app store, but, I'm hoping that people are just like, it's one of those things. It's late at night. What's going on that channel? And if watch is successful, and those of us who are broadcasting on a regular basis somehow get some sort of a kind of an adrenaline shot of some sort, or a boost, I'm sure we'll have to pay for it. Facebook will find a way to make us pay for it, but maybe it can, and I think, anytime you do something different, it's a good thing. And
I
there's
totally agree.
There's a lot of us that do interview shows that are formal and they're fun and they're good and they work well. But I think, like Joel Comm has this show Fun. That's totally different.
Yeah.
I think Owen Video does a video, a live video with his co-host that's pretty different. So I think mixing it up is the key.
I totally agree. Yeah, and I can't wait for you and Owen. That's awesome. I'm a big fan of his.
He's just fantastic. That guy is just on fire, and everybody that knows him well says he's just one of the greatest people. So I feel very fortunate that he's making the time, and that he friended me on Facebook, and at some point we'll meet up. I mean, he's just a half hour, 45 minutes away, so we'll be at some show at the same time, and hopefully shake hands and hang out for a little bit. It's a great thing to meet people at shows. I know that. It's nice to contact people outside the programs and get a little FaceTime, in public.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's about 90% of the fun of it for me.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Brad, again, thanks so much. And, one of the big things, I'll just close it out with this. One of the big things on the show is recurring guests. So, if you have anything going on, you want to chit chat about and tell the world about, just tip me off that you've got something going on and we'll plug you right in. With a podcast, you don't really want recurring guests. You want to kind of just keep building and always have something new. But with this show, that's not the case. I mean, Ross has already been on twice. I'm sure I'll have Jen Nelson on again soon. So recurring people, that's no problem. I'm all down for that. So anytime you have some news, have something fun going on, maybe when you get your podcast figured out, whatever, just tip me off on it and we'll get you right in.
Oh, that's awesome. I really appreciate that. Now I'm going to have you back on my show too.
Cool. I'm down anytime. Listen, take care. Don't hang up yet. Let me close out these things and we'll chat for a minute. Folks on Live Video Live that have joined us, let me do some shout outs here on my phone. I missed some comments. Peter Nez. Oh, wow. I didn't even see these show up. Professor Nez showed up. I hope you're still with us for a little shout out. He saw at least until we talked about Owen. Professor Nez, thanks for showing up. Aaron Roth joined us. Stephanie Charlie joined us. Ross joined us. Kaylin, I've already mentioned. Yeah, that's about it. I think I've gotten everybody. Thanks for showing up, for liking, commenting, all that. Periscope people, thanks for the love. Watching this in replay, I greatly appreciate it. Feel free to share any content with with wherever you're at, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Leave comments later if you've watched the video. Feel free. Brad, if you tag either one of us, if you have a question or a comment, we will come back and answer. And I greatly appreciate the time you spend with us on this program. I will be live tomorrow with another From Scratch around 10 to 10:30-ish. I've got the Owen. Actually, that might even change a little bit because of the Owen video. I know it will, actually. 10:15, I'll be on with him. So check it out, and I will squeeze From Scratch in somewhere tomorrow. Brad, thanks again. Folks,
thank you.
Have a great night. I'm going to start closing you guys out.